Well, hey everybody, this is session 2 of our training of our new believer, new follower of Jesus course called Made for More, the Basics. And so we are talking about what does it mean to get that full life that Jesus provides, that abundant life, what we call that made for more life, because we believe that you are made for more than the life you're striving for or the life you're settling for. And so here are the basics. Like here's what it looks like. Like here are the gatherings and the habits that we saw the early church do that helped other people, themselves included, live that full life by becoming a disciple or an apprentice or a Padawan of Jesus. His life become theirs by spending time with him. Last session, we kind of gave the overview of these 3 gatherings that from the early church of the book of Acts, we saw them participate in a worship gathering, a home gathering, and a mission gathering. The next 3 sessions are going to dive deep into each one of these. We're going to do a double click. We're going to double click on worship today. The next session will double click on home gatherings, and then the last one on the mission gathering of the church. And so these gatherings are vital as part of the community of Christ. As if you do church, these are the rhythms of church. Like this is what you do. We also saw from the book of Acts that you see them devote themselves to these spiritual habits. We saw last session that they devote themselves to the apostles' teaching. Well, what do we do that? How do we do that today? What does that look like today? Well, you read your Bible on a regular basis, and we give you tools and resources to help you do that. Today, this session, we'll talk about prayer. Next session, testimony and story. How do you share your testimony? Why is that important, sharing your story of Jesus impacting your life with others? How does that create belonging and connection with others? And lastly, we'll talk about, in the last session, the discipline and the habit of the gospel, telling the gospel to yourself and telling the gospel to others. And so today we're going to double click on the idea of the worship gatherings. In Acts 2:42-47, we saw this is what the early church did. This is how they lived out the full life and taught others to live out the full life of Jesus. And I have underlined there, one of their rhythms is they worship together at the temple each day. They literally left their homes, their marketplace, their jobs, and they would take time to go to this place together, all together, or they're with other people who believed, and they worshiped God at this special place. Why? Like, why was that their rhythm? I mean, and that's been the rhythm of the church for 2,000 years. Probably when you think of church, you think of Sunday morning or sometime on Sunday or during the week. You go to a building and you participate in a service, a worship service, a gathering of other Christians where they sing songs, where someone teaches, where they take communion. That's your idea that you think that's basically what church is. Well, it's really a third of what the history of the church has done for 2,000 years. It's an important third, but it's just a third of it. So to understand, like, what is this? Like, why did they do this, and why was it important? What is worship? Like, that's a word we don't use regularly in our culture today. What is worship, and why is worship important? Can we just say right up front that worship at church is weird? It's just kind of weird, right? You're in a room, there's lights, there's musicians on stage, they put words on the screen because they want you to sing along. Like, that's kind of odd. They don't really do that at concerts, do they? Like, what is worship? Why do we have this big production and all of this stuff? It feels like we're just doing karaoke right before a TED Talk. We're singing, we're supposed to sing along with this person. That's probably the closest thing to a worship service that our culture does, is karaoke. And then someone gets up and delivers some kind of message from this old book of the Bible, and they try and give you practical things to do today, some kind of TED Talk, if you will. Why is this important? What is worship, and how is it different from the culture, and how does it give me the full life, the abundant life? Well, let's start by defining the word. Okay, worship is attributing the ultimate value to someone or something. It's a Greek word, proskuneo, is how what we translate that word into the word worship in the English language. And when they talked about proskuneo, or worship, it was the idea of kissing towards a king. It was a servant would come before a king, and they would bow down, and they would usually kiss their ring. They would kiss towards that person. They would give that person value and significance and a special place in their life because they're king, right? They're special. Worship is attributing value to someone. It's attributing worth to someone or to something, saying, hey, you have value, you have worth, and I'm going to give that to you by my offering, by my sacrifice, by the gifts I bring to you. It's why the wise men from the East at the Christmas story, they bring gifts to Jesus because they're attributing value and worth to him. You may be wondering, okay, if that's what worship is, why do I have to do that in a room with other people with some kind of big production on a Sunday morning at a certain time, at 10 a.m. or 9 and 11:30 or whatever? Like, can't I do this by myself in my deer stand or on a paddleboard in the ocean just as good as in a church building with other people? The problem is when you try to worship by yourself, here's what's going on, okay? There is a gap between what I know and what I do. I think we would all agree with that. There's a gap between what I know and what I do when it comes to eating healthy. I know I'm supposed to eat certain foods and not eat others. That certain foods maybe make my stomach upset, or maybe there's I just can't say no to the chips and salsa at night. That you can see that's like my issue, right? I know the truth about what's good for me and what's not. I know about nutrition. Knowledge is not the problem. My desires are. My cravings are, my yearnings are, my habits. The problem is not knowledge. The problem is desire. And I don't know about you, but I have not figured out how to change my desires on my own. I've not unlocked that key. There's things in my life that I feel like I'm addicted to, that I feel like I can't go without, that these desires overwhelm my knowledge. These cravings I have overwhelm what I know I should or shouldn't do, and I end up reverting back to those desires because I can't overcome them. James K. Smith, in his book, You Are What You Love, he says this: our hearts are on fire, yet we keep pouring water on our heads. See, there was this belief that if we could give people enough education, if we could get enough information into people's heads, they would become better human beings. They'd become better people. And then we had the internet come out and the information revolution. We now have more information at our fingertips than ever before. And all we've seen is mental health crisis, depression, anxiety, suicides, mass murders, terrorism. We've just seen war break this world apart, even though we all know and we all have all this education available to us, all this knowledge available to us. The reality is our heads are not the problem. It's our hearts. It's our desires. How do we solve that? How do we change our desires? It's like Jesus knew this. In John 1, when he first came across some people that might be disciples of him, that might want to find the full life that he would offer, he asked them this question. This is the first question Jesus asks anybody in the Gospels. What do you want? What do you want? That's not a knowledge question. Hey, what do you know? Or, hey, how many degrees do you have? Or, hey, what AI extension do you have available to you right now that you can get whatever information that you want right now? No. He's like, what do you want? What's your heart's desire? See, at the heart of the Made for More life is changing your desires, what you ultimately want and long for. You see, I don't want to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I really don't. Okay. I have tried to change teams. I've tried to say, you know what? I'm done with them. I'm going to be, I moved to Florida. I'm going to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan or a Dolphins fan. I'm going to choose another team, Jacksonville Jags. Andy will like that. I'm going to be someone, I'm going to choose another team. And I try to root for that other team. And yet the moment I see that star on the helmet on the field, I cannot stop myself from wanting internally that team to beat everybody else. You want to know why? It's because I grew up in a house that cheered for the Cowboys. And so much so, every Sunday we watched the game. This is what my training was, okay? This is my masters or my dad and my granddads, and they cheered for the Cowboys. And one time when I was at fourth grade, they picked me up from school at Monday, right after school was out, took me down to Dallas. I grew up in Oklahoma, 3 hours from Dallas. We drove down there for Monday Night Football. I saw Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, all these incredible guys, these legends, these Hall of Famers play in a game against the horrible Philadelphia Eagles, okay? And in the stadium, it came down to the last play. All the Eagles had to do was kick a field goal to win the game. And I got down on my knees, a short field goal, like a 17-yard field goal. I got down on my knees. I'm embarrassed to say this. and I prayed, God, please let the Cowboys win. And the Eagles fumbled the ball. Crazy, the holder did. The Cowboys tackled him, recovered the fumble, won the game, and I went bananas crazy cheering for them. That environment, the star, the people, the experience with these people that I looked up to, my dad and my granddads, these men that had such an impact in my life, it developed in me a desire that my head says is bad for me. My heart says, no, I still want them to win. Okay. Our heart's desire is so strong, it overcomes what we know is right or not right. See, our heart's desire, at the heart of our heart's desire, is for something or someone to give us the flourishing life. This is what we all want. We're looking for something or someone to help fix the problem in our hearts, in our lives. And whatever that thing is or that person is, that is what we give the most value and worth to in our life. Whatever we're hoping will give us a flourishing life, that's what we actually worship. Because we believe that thing is the ultimate thing. That person's the ultimate person to fix what I've got going on in here. That's what we call worship. And changing what you worship is at the heart of the matter when it comes to the Made for More life. So how does a worship gathering do this? How does a worship gathering do this? Right after the Titanic sunk in 1914, Congress convened a hearing to discern what happened in another tragedy with this steamboat called the Monroe that was off the coast of the Virginia coast. And it was really foggy that day, and the steamship Monroe was rammed by the merchant vessel, the Nantucket. 41 sailors lost their lives. And Captain Edward Jones of the Monroe was grilled in this hearing by Congress for over 5 hours. What they centered the grilling on was his compass. You had a compass to guide you, to tell you where to go and not go. Okay. And what they found when they investigated his compass was that it deviated 2 degrees from the standard magnetic compass. It was 2 degrees off. Well, when you think about 2 degrees, it's not big of a deal. But as you start traveling for a long time with your compass being 2 degrees off, it will not get you where you're supposed to go. And what they found is his whole time of being captain of the Monroe, he never adjusted or recalibrated his compass to get back on track with the true magnetic north. This is what happens when your directional system is misoriented, is you end up in wrecks. You end up having a crash. James K. Smith says this, that the reminder for us is this: if the heart, our desires, is like a compass, a homing device, then we need to regularly calibrate our hearts, tuning them to be directed to the Creator, our magnetic north. You see, this is why the worship gathering is so important. It's like bringing the internal guiding system of your life, your heart, your desires, to that true magnetic north compass, saying, hey, listen, nothing else, no other thing, no other one can give me the full life. Only God can. And I need to get in a spot, in an environment with other people where my heart is touched by art, my mind is touched by truth, that I literally take the bread and the body of Jesus and I remember what I've already said I believe to be true. I recalibrate the internal compass of my heart to give the ultimate value and worth not to anything or anyone else, but to the true King on the throne, Jesus. He's the one that can give me the full life. We need to recalibrate. We need to reorient ourselves regularly to ensure that our internal compass is not just 2 degrees off, not 20 degrees off, not even, 80 degrees off. We need to make sure it's not 1 degree off. And that's what the worship gathering does. Okay. It recalibrates our internal desires directed at the right person to give them the ultimate value that can give us the full life. Paul says it like this in Colossians 3. He goes, this is what happens when you worship. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. Since as members of one body, you were called to peace, and be thankful. Let the message of Christ dwell among you richly as you teach and admonish one another with all wisdom through psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit, singing to God with gratitude in your hearts. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a worship service to me. You say, hey, there's going to be a message. Let that message dwell in you. We're going to teach each other with singing and these hymns and these prayers with gratitude in our hearts. So the worship gathering actually is the thing that helps recalibrate your desires towards the right ultimate person who can give you that full life. And worship does this in a couple ways. Worship reorients our desires in two ways, through imitation and through practice. See, in imitation, we imitate others who have their desires, their loves oriented towards God. And so when we get around other Christians, maybe we're 5 degrees off, or maybe we're 30 degrees off, they're 1 degree off, or maybe they're on magnetic north. So when we imitate them and pray their prayers, we sing along with them, we talk with them in the hallway about what's going on in their life. Imitating what other people do help reinforce to us and recalibrate our hearts and our desires towards the right thing. We need each other. It's also through practice. We practice orienting our heart and desires and yearnings towards God and His kingdom by getting in that space and sometimes saying words you don't want to say today, right? It's, God, your kingdom come, your will be done. Or, man, I praise you. I'll praise you anywhere. No matter what high I'm going through or whatever low I'm experiencing, Lord, I'm going to praise you. Or it's taking the body, the blood of Jesus and remembering He did this for me. He's the one that paid for my sins. It's the practice of going through that every single week on a regular basis that helps recalibrate your heart towards the ultimate being that can give you that full life. And so this helps us remember this, that your past does not define you because of what Jesus did. See, our hearts get off kiltered because of the mistakes that we make, the sins that we live with, the baggage that we carry with us everywhere we go, the skeletons in the closet. And when you come out worship gathering, you remember every single week. You have to remember this, because Satan tries to accuse you. He tries to keep you trapped in having your heart off kilter by your past. And when we come to that worship gathering, remember that because of the grace of Jesus, He is worthy. He paid for my sins. He is now worthy of my worship to help me overcome what has happened to me and what I have done. So that's what we do at the worship gathering. And so that's the gathering. How do you live this out on a daily basis? The daily habit that helps you recalibrate your heart, not just on Sunday mornings, but every single day, is prayer. And we talk about, there's an acronym we use for pray, how to talk to God, how to encounter God on your own. It's these things: praise, repent, ask, and yield. You can learn more about that at this QR code. We have a little short video giving you a tool, a resource on how to pray, because praying to God, talking to God may sound weird to you. That's okay. It's okay. Start here. Here's some resources for you to learn how to do that. Because this private worship in your prayer life and this public worship with the body of believers, the worship gathering, they are the things that keep your heart, your internal desires focused and redirected to the one that can give you the full life.